Oh, I get up here and I get to look at my picture. So I didn't know that was going to happen. First, a little bit about who I am really quick. Well, actually, before that, thank you, Jeff, for that call you answered. I was in the middle of South Dakota, I believe. And Jeff said, hey, we had a cancellation. We'd like to have you come and present today, which blew my mind. I'm ex-Calix, 20 years at Calix. Left Calix in April. Calix has got a lot of good friends there. See a lot in the audience. A few other ex-Calix people. How many from Calix that are still at Calix are here? 1, 2, 3. Oh, Bern. And then how many service providers still in the room? Okay, I thought I was playing a little bit of Survivor there for a while because it got empty in the back, but it looks better now. Of the service providers that are here, how many have deployed white boxes? Okay, 1. Could you share what you did with white box, or is it not something that can be shared?
We haven't done, we're just not getting into it, I guess.
Okay. I'd love to hear about it later if you want to pull me aside. So, very interesting. So, I will let you know, and I'm going to go through the presentation fairly quickly, that it's coming. A lot of you probably know Huawei and the story about Huawei and how they came in, had some pretty promising things, but they did a critical error, and that was they didn't protect your security with the products they brought in, and they got slammed by the federal government. There was another movement afoot, which is called Cord. A lot of you know Cord. Most of you, when you hear Cord now, kind of roll your eyes, and it's like, Cord, yeah, okay. What are we, 7 years after Cord was announced? Somewhere in that range. I will tell you what Cord did. A company like AT&T that announces a standard like that, there is a ton of vendors that flood to that market. I mean, everyone from switches to routers to everyone floods in to try and meet that demand. And when that demand doesn't occur, what those vendors do is they try and find other lines of business that they can get into. So Cord today, not in its real carnation, not what AT&T had ever envisioned, but Cord is actually being deployed today in enterprise. So that model that they did for Cord, the model itself, not the full Cord thing, is actually being put out in the field in enterprise. White boxes, where's the largest white box deployment today? Anyone guess? Google, yeah. Google, Facebook, all of the big companies, AWS, they've all got warehouses full of, you guys see a data center? I mean a big one of the AWS, Google, Facebook. So we've got one about 10 miles from the house. It's almost as big as this building. And I kid you not. There is a generator in front of each pod and a huge container of diesel to run that generator in front of each pod. I actually think the biggest risk in those is all those bins of diesel that are sitting out in front of there, but that's just me, so from a security perspective. So what I see happening is two things. One is the data centers are embracing the white box model. Enterprise is embracing the white box model, and those two are very quickly colliding. So the space that we've always played in, access being, whether you're Nokia, any Nokia people here? Adtran? Okay, good. I just wanted to check. I figured there weren't, but if you're Nokia, if you're Adtran, if you're Calix, you're seeing your space get very, very tight, and the area that you can work gets very, very tight. So I will count Calix as being the smartest of those three because Calix has looked at other lines of business, namely software. And if you've deployed cloud, you already know how cool it is. I mean, I know some of you probably said, oh, I could do that in Python in 15 minutes. But the cloud stuff that Calix has done is really cool. I will tell you, from my perspective, you can agree or disagree, but since you're Calix users or Calix people, you'll probably agree, Calix is the most innovative of those three access providers. Adtran does some cool stuff, don't get me wrong, and Nokia is solid as all get out. I don't know any system that is more solid than theirs. But from an innovative perspective, Calix by far has got the best innovation in the world. So let's see, I was going to give $20 away. Let's see if I can still remember what that was for. Oh, here it is. So who is the smartest person in the room? Someone's got to raise their hand with an answer. $20? If it was Carl, it'd be 100, but. All right, Phil, go ahead.
I'm the smartest guy in the room.
There you go. You got it. Bill's a winner. And the reason I say that is because you're going to hear a lot about vision and what you should do with your network. The only person that's in a position to do anything, or your job or anything else, only person that's in a position to really know what you need to do is you. And if you ask me, what did I have for breakfast? I know I'm the smartest person. Hey, give me that back. That was oatmeal, but so you owe me a beer tonight, by the way. All right, so let, $1.5 beers? Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I made money on that, didn't I, Phil? All right, so how do I work this thing? Is this the forward button? Get my...
Just push the down arrow.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so anyone hear about Tibit? Anyone know Tibit? All right, so a few of you have been following us probably. Where's Lisa? Thank you, Lisa, for the great lead-in. Tibit is very much about getting fiber out everywhere. For us to be successful, fiber's got to go everywhere. For fiber to go out everywhere and be successful, it's got to be as cheap as possible. That's where the white box, the open network technology comes in. And so Calix with the AXOS and their vision of putting AXOS on any platform, that's a pure vision. That is a phenomenal vision. Because they know it's coming, and there's going to be timing issues and that kind of thing, but that vision of putting that on a white box platform and doing basically what the manufacturer providers did a long time ago, that's a great vision. So if you do a new network, what do you need? Simple, robust, reliable, and compatible. Those would be, in my view, those are the things that a new network needs. You might have some other ones that line up there, but those are the four that I believe are critical. I'm not going to read through all these slides. I think they're provided, right, Jeff, later? So, but there's reasons you want a simple, robust, reliable, and compatible. And the biggest reason is cost. Whether it be operations cost or capital cost, you want it one of those ways. These, and by the way, I'm not going to go into detail. So this is one of the open networking designs, and I think this broadband forum, Jeff? Okay. So there are many ways to skin the cat. And it doesn't really matter which way you use, as long as you're open to skinning the cat one way or the other. So this is one of the open networking forum designs. A lot of partners, you'll see Calix in there. We're part of that partnership. You'll see Nokia in there. I don't see no Adtran. They should be. But needless to say, that's one design. Another design, so this one is been out for a long time, is the Chord design. When I saw Chord originally, my eyes rolled back in my head. I mean, I was like, what in the world? It wasn't this simple a diagram either. That the Chord model was extremely complex. There was all kinds of gazintas, gazautas, acronyms that I didn't understand. I mean, Volta, for God's sake, what is Volta? So everything now is getting simplified, like standards do. It starts out with a really big program, and then it gets shrunk down and simplified. Our model, and again, I say our model, we actually fit into any one of those first two models. Because things had happened so slow, we decided to design our own software and do our own thing. So this is our model. There are at least 6 other models beyond these that I'm aware of that people are using for different applications, but they're all open models. They're all using white box solutions. So if you've got a feeling that they're not going to come, I won't disagree with you. You know, you can say, yep, nope, that's not going to come here, but I will make a bet with you, a large one. Anyone interested? I need my $20 back. I will bet with you that in the next 12 months, you are going to see a proliferation of this, and it's going to happen a lot faster than anyone thinks. And the reason being is it just makes sense. Anyone know OSI? Optical Solutions? Back in the day? Yeah, and a lot of Calix folks know. Anyone know Occam? Okay, same set of hands, more or less. So why were those two companies successful? And you could say, oh, they weren't because they got bought out, but that's not true. They were not only innovative, but they were right. Occam was right about the need to get Ethernet to the home. OSI was right about needing to get fiber to the home. And so you can say, well, they weren't successful, they didn't go public, they didn't do this. But you ask Keith Carlson, ask NJ, two guys that came over from one of each company, they'll tell you to this day they were right. We've had this discussion a lot with those guys. So this is, again, you can read through this, but these are a lot of questions that people have asked on why we're going to see this open networking take off. And the bottom line is it just has to. And then, so what happens when you get an open network in a compatible world? All kinds of things. The options that you've got for deployment increase by magnitudes. On the switching side, on the BNG side, on the ONT side, or the ONU side, ONT side, whatever you want to call it, all of that stuff opens wide open. The key to operating in a compatible world, though, and the one that you want to really be careful of, is the software side. So when you look at the software and this opens up, I would look really hard at the AXOS software, because that is probably the most hardened software in the carrier environment today. And as I say, there's others that are out there. There's a lot of them. And there's some people in this room actually have software that could do the same thing. So look at theirs too, but make that comparison based on software. The hardware in the end won't matter. And then here's some questions, and again, since this is coming out, I'm not going to go through the questions in detail, but here's some questions that you need to ask as you look at open networking and what you want to do with that, which will help guide your or inform your decision in that regard. And then lastly, Jeff told me I couldn't have any plug, or he said I could have a small plug for Tibit. So there's my small plug for Tibit. It's actually a small SFP Plus. It's a layer 2 OLT that fits in any white box switch or any router. And operates as a layer 2 OLT. You can go out for 1 to 128 splits or 1 to 132, whatever the split ratio you want. So that's our device. It's been 5 years in the making. Ed Boyd was the guy that did the work on that. So I think I'm over, right?
Yep.
Great.
Sounds good.
Appreciate
Perfect.
it.
Excellent.